this game last night is going to stay with me forever because of everything. The emotion, the weird emotion, and tell us how it was down there on the field, because after I saw you in the booth, we went down and left the ballpark, and it didn't have that feeling of, oh my, because we walked right past where the LSU dugout would have been, right past the media room. It did not have a vibe of, oh my God, we just walked off our rival. We're going to play for the national championship.
Yeah. So a couple things. So I was talking to my buddy Jake Mintz from Yahoo last night, who after the game was over.
Is it Jake Mintz or was it Jack Mintz?
No, Jack Mintz. Jack Mintz. No, Jake Mintz went and sat down by the Arkansas dugout and just watched. And like you can see from there, it's like a straight line to the street. And he was like, just the reaction of the players, just stunned silence, tears, unsure of what's happening. I'm in the tunnel underneath because I had to do a post-game interview. And I saw Jay Johnson. I've known Jay for years, and Jay and I are pretty friendly. And I congratulated him. And I said, "Man, like I thought it was really classy that you went over to talk to the Arkansas kids." And he was like, "Man, he almost couldn't finish his thought, but he was getting at you hate to win a game that way." And I think it's specifically not the Robinette going for the ball that the second baseman should have fielded and then forcing the throwing error. Aloy throwing to the wrong base. I don't think that's what he was talking about. It's the Chuck Davalon play, right? Where he slips and falls, and then like somehow his glove doesn't hit the ball. It hits his shoulder or the side of his head or whatever and rolls into the corner. Like, I don't think any of us have seen that before.
No.
And I think that's the part that was heartbreaking for me. And watching Davalon's reaction, right, who was just in tears, who was blaming himself for the loss at that point.
Yes.
And then the ball off Cam Koshel's glove. And Jay's aware enough to know that Cam is from here and that, this is the kid whose dad is on the grounds crew and all of that. And so I think that was, that was empathetic from Jay, somebody who understands. The conversation with the players after their press conference was pretty muted. And, those guys are excited. They got a chance to play for a national championship, but they also understood what happened out there. And that a lot of it, I'm not sure that they will ever be able to explain why it happened. They'll have the happy story of, you're not going to believe what happened in the ninth inning. Those Arkansas guys are going to, eventually it'll get better. It will get better at some point for all of them. Some of them are going to end up in pro ball and they're going to end up having great careers and they'll be willing to talk about it down the road. But for the next couple of days, these are the part that's painful is that these are 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids for the most part. And that's what you hate about it. If it's a pro athlete, you feel bad for a guy who slips and falls and costs his team a playoff game. I would feel bad for him, but it's a different level of empathy because they're kids.
Mike, you said empathy a couple of minutes ago. Can you remember that type of empathy from the winning team in your time covering sports or college baseball? It sounds just wild.
2 years ago when Tommy White hit the walk-off home run against Wake Forest after he
11th?
rounded the bases, he went to go console Cam Manassi, who gave up the home run, because Cam Manassi's his friend from growing up. These guys have played a lot more baseball together at this level than they did 25 years ago. Travel ball is ubiquitous, right? It's a huge part of the amateur baseball landscape. And so these guys on these teams have been friends for years or played against each other for years. And some of them have been teammates for Orlando Scorpions or for FTG or for any of these travel ball programs that are all across the country and, come through, play at these perfect game events. And they know each other. And so I do think that there is an added level of empathy. These guys love to compete, but these are their friends. It's not like, it's not like the 70s and 80s in Major League Baseball where everybody was on speed and they were just angry at each other all the time, right? And you didn't like a guy just because he wore the other uniform. These guys have known each other since they were little kids, since they were 10, 11, 12 years old. And so I don't think it's all that unusual. The Tommy White one really stands out to me because I remember that. Now, I don't remember another coach going over to console the other team.
Yeah. But this was different in that was a normal walk-off moment. Tie game, and there wasn't any weird flukiness. Certainly, a pitcher can feel bad for giving up a gopher ball, but it's natural. It happens.
Right.
The weirdness of last night with all of the weird things that had to take place, and then to see the kind of reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was the mass reaction of LSU. Yes, initially they're running out on the field. They're chasing out Bear Jones. He catch him in center field, pour the water, all that other stuff. But it's that muted reaction afterwards that you talked about. And I watched the press conference, later, and it was like, these guys don't sound like they're like, oh my God, we beat our rival. This is amazing.
Well, they're trying to be respectful of it. Yeah.
And they are.
And I think, the other part is that, like, one, there's a lot of respect for the Arkansas team.
Sure.
But two, like, they know history. Johnson knows the history, knows about the Arkansas Triangle. And, like, you guys have known DVH for years. You've known him, what?
1998.
Yeah. I mean, 25 years you've known Dave. And, like, Dave Van Horn is a really respected human being. And, like, his emotions were raw after the game because he felt so bad for the kids. Not because, I mean, Dave Van Horn wants to win a national championship. Don't get me wrong, but, like, Dave Van Horn's legacy is safe with or without.
Yes,
right?
yes.
He wants it for the kids, and the kids want it for the coach because they know that he's one of the all-time greats. I mean, he's on that list with, like, Mike Martin of the best coaches to make it to
X
Omaha,
number.
however many times. 10 times he's been here. 10 he's been here. And to have their two of their last three exits from here. I mean, even in 22, they were up. They were 2-0.
Yes,
remember?
they were. Yes,
and
they
then
were.
lost 2 straight to Ole Miss. Like, just this recent history for Arkansas is heartbreaking. This maybe isn't quite the same as 2018, just because it's not the championship series. But it still is, I mean, incredibly painful and even more bizarre somehow.
Yes, it is, because, again, that was one play. This was several different plays that all, like, I don't want to say conspired together to work against Arkansas, but for lack of a better term, that's what it was.
And the difference was, Chris Plank and I were talking about this on the Sirius XM post game last night. In 18, I was watching that game on TV, so I wasn't here for it. I was watching it, but it happened quickly. Like, all of a sudden, the game is over, right? Like, it's the foul pop comes in, and then Larnock homers, and it's over.
Yeah.
And then they have to come back and pick themselves off the mat, right? This one was watching it unfold in slow motion, right? It was 1 out, throwing error, walk, double play ball, bad decision, out, liner, oh no, he slipped and fell. And, like, all of those things conspiring, pitching change, pause, ball off Kojal's glove, like, all of that together made it all that much more excruciating, because I never really felt like the momentum fully shifted. It wasn't like you felt like all of a sudden there's this surge and LSU was going to win the game. Maybe when Hernandez reached second, you were thinking that a little bit, but before that, there was no thought of it. The ball's hit to Davlon, the game is over, and then it just absolutely fell apart. It was so horrifying to watch, and horrifying is probably a bit extreme,
right?
But it was tough to watch because you felt so bad for those kids, especially since, like, really the only miscue other than the Robinette error, which, again, like, that was Mike Rooney and I were talking about that. He's like, the infield instructor of me was very mad. That's got to be the second baseman's ball, right? Like, which is true, right? He's ranging far off the base, but because the big gaff was something that Chuck Davlon couldn't. I mean,
he couldn't control it. He slipped.
It happens all the time, and then it just exploded. If he slips and pulls up short and plays it on one hop, at worst, it's a 1-run game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're still up.
But he's got to play on it, and it just, like, it's.
And I still have not seen a good replay of exactly
where it hits.
Where it hit. I mean, you said it might be the shoulder. It was definitely something hard.
Yeah.
Because
it wasn't his glove.
It took
could have been his head.
A sharp angle right towards the corner.
And that
right
poor
towards
kid,
the corner.
Distraught.
To see all of the different, and there was a lot of media there, but the pictures and the videos of the teammates trying to console him and just the anguish on his face, it was like, God, this is gut-wrenching.
Both Dave and Ryder Helfrich, their catcher, talk about how he was apologizing for it. And Helfrich saying, he's like, I was actually kind of ticked off that he was apologizing for it. He's like, because we're not here without him. He was one of their best players. Like, that guy's going high in the draft. Like, he's going to be in the second or third round. Like, he's a really good player. And him transferring in helped to transform their offense. He was their catalyst. Like, He's an extremely popular player with his teammates. He's a great kid by all accounts. And for that to happen and to watch those emotions, and then like it was heartwarming to see Arkansas's team like recognize that he was hurt and they rushed out to comfort him, which is, I think, one of the things that's been really cool to watch in this evolution of college baseball in the last 5 years, just how much these guys really care about each other and how much that has changed in that they're trying to build this really unique experience that they're never going to have in pro ball. It's not the same in pro ball.
No.
That relationship is different in college. You're living with these guys like in a different way.
Mike, we played, honestly, like all the big highlights at the very start of the show. And in that, you guys talked about the not turning two, not trying to turn two, going to third. You've had, what are we closing in on? About 20 hours to think about it. What is your theory on, because we openly wondered, just kind of throwing out stuff. Did he forget the number of outs? I mean, mine is just he had a brain fart, and it was just, oh my gosh, what I
think he thought Stephen Milam was faster than he is.
Yeah,
I mean, Milam's kind of an average-ish runner, and he was going from he's a switch hitter going from the right side, so there's an extra second there, and I just don't think he knew the speed of the runner, and his thought was, it's not hit all that hard. Let's make sure we get an out. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
We didn't get a chance to talk to Vahiva after the game, so we don't know, which, college kids are protected a little bit more than the pros are, which I certainly understand. But I would like to know what it is, because it is possible he forgot how many outs there were and thought that was the easiest play. I mean, it would still be weird to go to third on that.
Yeah.
Because the natural instinct is always, there's a runner at first, I'm going to second.
Because it was a routine. It wasn't like he had to move so far to his right. Like if that ball is towards the hole, you understand it, right? And then we're talking about, wow, what a heads-up play. He got that lead out.
Yep.
So I don't fully know. I don't have a great understanding of what happened that created that mess for him, that he thought that the play was to go to third. Now, listen, if they don't turn the double play, you're in the same situation, right? There's 2 on. The bigger issue is that with 1 out and a 2-run lead, that runner going from second to third doesn't matter. He shouldn't have even entered into his mind at all.
It should have been second. Yeah. Because that's the run that mattered.
Right. So you're trying to get that middle guy to at least keep the man at first. And I think, I thought in real time, I feel like after doing this long enough, you get a pretty good idea of how plays time, right?
Yes.
And I thought when the ball was hit, knowing what Milam is, that's going to be a double play. That's going to be a double play.
The angle from behind the first base dugout is the best.
The trolley cam,
it's the best one, because that's the one where every time I watch it, I'm like, oh man, he had the time.
He had plenty of time.
Definitely could have.
He's out by a step or two.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then you're good as long as you get second base. Yeah, we are.
Mike Stibbs on our YouTube comment page.
What does he say?
Haha, I was right about Mark Jaron. Haha, I thought I was a genius for that joke. No, Mike, this is Mark Jaron.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is our new friend of the Grum, Mark Jaron.
I guarantee.
So
I'm working on a graphic right now for Mark Jaron. Yep. We'll get it up.
Can I be at like a crawfish boil or something? Since I was supposedly associated with LSU.
Can you put a crawfish in his hand?
I'll see what I can do.
Instead of a microphone, I think that'd be funny.
I'll see what I can do.
Yes, Mike Ferrin is here. Invited himself to the Grum because he was bored because his wife doesn't get until 11. What flight gets into Omaha at 11 o'clock?
The one that leaves Phoenix at 7.
I mean, I thought the only people that arrived that late was us coming back on the charter.
I'm hoping that she's going to be able to pick up a rental car, that it won't be closed, that she's not going to have to stand outside until 5 a.m.
Why did you just call her a taxi?
Because we're going to drive to Sioux City tomorrow, John.
Well, I know,
Sioux City, John.
I mean, you could always get the rental car tomorrow.
We could do that, yes, if we need to. But the idea was, since she was getting in late enough, I was assuming wrongly that there was going to be an if necessary game and that she could pick up the car while I was doing post game.
I just hope she can find the car rental place amidst all the construction.
Oh, I should probably warn her about that.
Oh, good call.
It's
Follow
a lot
the
of
signs.
It. Yeah. Because they've moved it. It's in the new parking garage.
Also the signs aren't accurate. Have you noticed that? That
I haven't been there in a couple months, so
they tell you to go, like, you take the elevator up to 3 and go across the parking garage for the Uber. So we did that. Mike Rooney and I were on the same flight from Phoenix, and so we're going to the same hotel. So we're like, okay, great. So we go and we do that, and as we're like standing waiting for the elevator, looking through the window, everybody else is walking out on the main level over to the Ubers. And we're like, great. We could have just done that. Thanks.
Let's. I want to play this because Mike made reference to it, Dave Van Horn. So we'll cut the mic so Mike can hear it. But this is This is Dave Van Horn last night. He was asked about, how much he enjoyed coaching this particular team. Here's Coach Van Horn.
Yeah, this is one of the top teams I've ever coached on and off the field. Just being around them, it's funny. I've been doing it for a while, and people will say things to me like, the kids have really changed over the years, and I always say, no, they haven't. And they're good. They just want to know that you care about them. And yeah, it's tough, man. Kids are good, man. I love being around them. That's why I do it.
That was
powerful,
incredible. I've never seen Dave Van Horn like that. I'm sure it's probably out there somewhere. I've never seen him like that.
Dave talked about it. I can't remember if it was in the opening press conference here or if it was at the end of Super Regionals. How important he felt it was to get this team to Omaha because he loved them so much. Last 2 years they'd lost home regionals, right?
Yep.
They were kind of scuffling the last couple seasons in the postseason, but there was something about this team that he was like, it was genuine, right? It wasn't just like, hey, we need to get back because we're Arkansas baseball. It's he wanted these kids to have the Omaha experience,
yep.
right? And so it's clear that he really means it. And he's right. Like, the kids haven't changed. The circumstances surrounding the kids have changed 100%. They have, but it has constantly evolved, right? From the time that we were young, right, and watching college baseball in the 80s to like even 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it changed, right? And then now here with essentially free agency, right, and the transfer portal and all of these things that have altered the game, the kids are the same. They're just different opportunities for them now. But all these guys are still kids, and they still love playing baseball. And this is a lot different than professional ball. And I was talking to an ACC coach who had a prominent draftee last year, who is off to a slow start. Guy was a big pick, was off to a slow start. And he got a call from him, this is probably early May. And the kid was just like, I just am not having any fun. I don't know. This isn't the same. It's not the same. And listen, he gave him the pep talk and was like, no, it's not the same, but you got to work through it. And all this is a great coach and great conversation. But this is really, I think this is the part that we're starting to get better at teaching people about on why college baseball is special, right? Is the relationships with the kids. Like you go to a Nebraska game, right? Even in March, and it's what, 3,500 people that are there?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
So, and they're screaming, right? Or like K-State. K-State sells out every home game, right? Like the Manhattan, Kansas, right? And Manhattan, Kansas ain't pleasant in March, or April,
no,
right? Like,
no, maybe
I'm not
even
sure
May.
when Manhattan is pleasant, but like they go and they sell it out, right? And the atmosphere is incredible. That's not the atmosphere in pro ball. So, like, congratulations, you're a first-round draft pick. We're going to send you to the Arizona Complex League, where you will be playing outside in Arizona in August in 110-degree heat.
Sounds like
with
Omaha.
7 people in the stands and 6 of them use the TrackMan. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And hey, you got to go, like, get hot. Let's go. You got to be intense for that. It's not the same atmosphere. It's not the same feeling.
No.
It's not the same vibe. So I think the players appreciate that. The coaches appreciate the fact that, and the kids know that it's like, this is unique. And I think the more that they get exposed to understanding what the minor leagues are like, it almost makes it more special for them. Kids are kids, man. They're always going to be kids. Like, there's the challenges that they face and the things that they have are always going to be different. And maybe this is easy for me to say because I don't have any, but I feel like I've got the 10,000-foot view and watching everybody else's kids be raised. And I hear people complain about problems or like their kid did this.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I did the same thing when I was 12. You know why? Because I was
kids.
12.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Didn't have
it's the
cell
same
phones to
thing.
record us doing it all. Mike, championship series. Both of these teams ripped through. They had no losses. Obviously, Coastal famously hasn't lost in many, many weeks, months.
Yes.
Is there anything to be said about winning in such an emotional fashion like LSU did in that being bad?
I don't think so at all. I am a firm believer that in these two things, that even though we can't quantify momentum, that it exists inside a game because you can feel it. And what it is it's not something that you can write down, but you feel the pressure, right? You can feel that tension. You're a human being. You can feel that. But in baseball, unlike I think any other sport, so much of what happens is dictated by the guy that takes the ball the next day. So one of my favorite baseball cliches is momentum is only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. And that's what it amounts to. Now, for both of those teams in the finals, the starters are pretty freaking great, right? So like Cade Anderson, Cam Flukie is going to be great. Cam Flukie has better stuff, pure stuff, 2 better pure pitches than Cade Anderson. Cade Anderson might be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. The next day, it's going to be Jacob Morrison, who we just watched like stalk around the mound for 8 innings and putting him in the 2-0 game, right? Sunbelt pitcher of the year. And it's not like he's some thumber lefty, right? Like he's not throwing 80 poo up there. He's throwing real stuff against Anthony Ianson, who's going to go in the back of the first round. Like that's our matchup in the first 2 games. So like how lucky are we, first of all, that those are the first 2 games? But on top of it, it's like that's where your momentum is going to come from, is how your starters react. That's what's going to happen. So LSU, and not to mention there's 2 days off between the game starting. LSU is going to be ready to go. Like this is for a second. Jay Johnson's one of the handful of the best coaches in America. 3 national finals in 9 years. Like in 8 trips. I guess it would be 9 trips, right? Because it wasn't in 20. Correct. So like in the last 9 Omahas, he's been at 4 of them as the head coach, and 3 of them he's been in the finals. That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.